The Air Force started looking at putting missiles on trains in the early 1960s, which led to the creation of the Minuteman Mobility Test Train. But the idea was shelved temporarily due to various issues. In the 1970s and early 1980s, the Russians developed their own nuclear-capable missile trains. So the Air Force got the book back out, and in 1986, President Reagan approved a plan for the development of railroad-based launchers for the planned LGM-118 Peacekeeper missile. The original plan was for 50 missiles on board 25 trains. The planned 7-car train would consist of 2 locomotives with armored cabs, 2 bunk cars for housing security forces and missile crews, 2 launch cars. Each car contained a single missile, a launch control car, which contained the computers for launching the missiles and also the targeting computers, a fuel car. This car carried diesel fuel and a pumping system to power the train's onboard generators. One note of interest is the walls of this car were 3/16 of an inch thicker than a normal railroad tank car to provide a little more protection. The last car was a maintenance supply car. This car carried spare parts and supplies for the different crews on board. The Air Force bases that were selected for rail garrison duty were Fairchild Air Force Base, location Spokane, Washington; Malmstrom Air Force Base, location Great Falls, Montana; Minot Air Force Base, location Minot, North Dakota; Grand Forks Air Force Base, location Grand Forks, North Dakota; Dyess Air Force Base, location Abilene, Texas; Whiteman Air Force Base, location Knob Noster, Missouri; Blitheville Air Force Base, location Blitheville, Arkansas; Little Rock Air Force Base, location Little Rock, Arkansas; Barksdale Air Force Base, location Shreveport, Louisiana; and Wurtsmith Air Force Base, location Oscoda, Michigan. In 1990, a prototype test train was assembled. First, it was sent to Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. Then it went to the AAR Transportation Test Center in Pueblo, Colorado for testing and evaluation. The train also performed open road testing on the Santa Fe Railway. How you doing? 1415. In 1991, the Cold War ended, and the Peacekeeper Rail Garrison program was canceled. One of the prototype missile launch cars was scrapped, and the other one was donated to the National Museum of the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, and placed on public display. The rest of the train was shipped to Alaska. The locomotives were stationed at Ellison Air Force Base and repainted into standard U.S. Air Force colors. The cars were intended to be used on the Air Force's Mobile Command Train, also known as the Alcop train, but it was also shut down after the Cold War, so they ended up being scrapped. This video has been brought to you by Mike's Mix Store. We have model railroad stuff, pet items, clothing, and lots of other things. Link in the description.